Why, hello there YouTube and welcome to this video. So, this is a double top 5. As you know, this has been one beyond a regular normal year. I think the last time anything felt really normal for me was like in the middle of March when the whole lockdown started. So, we've had a pandemic, global and everything, and it's had a huge effect on the filming industry. You know, a lot of great movies that we anticipated for this year have been delayed and pushed back, which is a shame. But we've managed to have a few films out, a few good, decent films out, and then a couple of bad movies. And with this being the horror channel, I'm gonna, because I didn't see, I saw a lot of good horror movies and a lot of bad ones, but I've decided to do like my top 5 worst horrors of 2020 and my top 5 best horrors of 2020. So let's just get it underway. This is all my personal opinion. No one has to agree with me on it, but yeah, so let's start with the worst. So my top 5 worst horrors of 2020. So coming in at number 5 is Fantasy Island. Now, I knew of the classic TV show, and I even watched the 90s miniseries with Malcolm McDowell. When I saw this one, I thought, okay, this could be interesting. But this, to me, it was done by Blumhouse, and yeah, it did have its horror shares in there, but it felt more like a comedy adventure, more than like an actual horror. And I guess in the end they kind of defeated the horror aspects, so if they do a sequel they could take it into another genre. Yeah, it doesn't have to be a horror sequel. They could do another sequel maybe as a comedy or something, I don't know. But this, I get what they were trying to do. They were trying to make a classic non-horror series a horror, but just didn't quite rub off the same way as they envisioned or anything. But I'll give them credit. They tried to do something here with it, but just didn't do good with it. At number 4 is You Should Have Left. Now, I should have left this movie alone. Because, you know, I mean, it stars Amanda Seyfried and Kevin Bacon. This was meant for theatrical release, but yeah, I just didn't get this film. It was a bit hard and complicated to understand, and I mean, Amanda Seyfried, she's beautiful and she made this film worth watching, but yeah, I just didn't get it. You know, like, what was with the house in Wales? I don't know. So yeah, that's at number 4. Number 3 is The Turning. Now, this was an adaptation of the novella The Turning of the Screw. And it had Mackenzie Davis, Finn Wolfhard, and a few others in there. One thing I will say is that The Haunting of Bly Manor did a way better adaptation of this story than this movie did. Set in the mid-90s, it started off okay, but sort of went down as the movie went along. And the ending, don't even get me started on that. That ending was so abrupt, and it left so many unanswered questions, and I hated how they ended it. When the film ended, I was like, what, that's it? Yeah, and not a lot explained. You know, a bit of a mind boggler. So yeah, The Turning. I mean, the kids in it were great. Finn Wolfhard and the young girl they had in it, and Mackenzie Davis, but the movie, I just can't say the same for that. And number 2 is The Grudge, that I saw in January of 2020, and yeah, this I thought was a bit of a snooze fest. I mean, I know of the others. I've seen the one with Sarah Michelle Gellar, and at least the first original one, Juan. But this one, kind of just, yeah, like carrying the curse from Japan, and then it all affecting the house, and yeah, and it took place in 2 different time zones, and like I said, it were a bit of a snooze fest. I mean, I dozed off for a bit watching it, but yeah, it just didn't bring anything new to it to me. At least not to me anyway. So yeah, The Grudge. And my number one worst horror movie of 2020 is Bram's The Boy 2. Do yourself a favour. If you haven't seen this film, don't watch it. Watch the first movie. That is way more entertaining than this one. The first movie at least has a decent twist. You know, making you think it's a supernatural doll-possessed movie, but then they turn that round completely with its twist. This one, they go completely in that direction of supernatural evil possessed doll. It didn't make sense, and it was boring as hell. God, it was so boring. Nothing happened in this, and when it did happen, you already had enough of this film already. And yeah, I don't know. I reckon this was a cash grab, and yeah, it's just, it was crap. I didn't like this one at all. You know, and yeah, the plot, it's like a family get burgled and the kid's in a state of shock and won't speak, then befriends the doll Brahms, and then all this weird shit starts happening. It's like they completely ignored most of the plot of the first movie. So yeah, I don't recommend The Boy 2. A few of the others, I recommend Fantasy Island if you're looking for something to not take seriously and just something to simply watch. The others I don't recommend so much. I don't recommend The Boy 2 at all, like I've just said. So there you go, my top 5 worst horrors of this year. Now let's go to my top 5 best horrors of 2020. So, kicking off at number 5 is The New Mutants. Yes, this movie finally got released after its 2-year delay. It got delayed in 2018 for a year because they didn't want it going up against Deadpool or Avengers Infinity War. It then got delayed again for reshoots, and then it was scheduled for release in April of 2020, but then the pandemic and lockdown happened, so it got pushed again. But by the August of that year, this year, it finally came out. We finally got to watch it. Was it worth it all? Yes and no. It was a decent X-Men movie, and I thought it was a great film to end the whole X-Men universe being done solely by Fox. It was a lot more entertaining than Dark Phoenix, I will tell you that. It was dark, and it did have a lot of horror elements in there. I mean, like I say, there were horrors in it, but no. And like I said, there were some horror moments in there. They were attempting to make it a superhero horror, which they managed to. I thought it was decent and watchable, but I would say it was mega brilliant. Number 4, it is Freaky. Yes, this took the aspect of body swap comedy, mixed it with slasher. This was like Freaky Friday meets Scream, where a teenage girl who's about to be killed by this psycho butcher called the Blissfield Butcher, swaps bodies, and then she becomes Vince Vaughn, and Vince Vaughn becomes her, and they race against the clock to get her switched back. This was a nice surprise, and I very much enjoyed it. I'll watch pretty much anything with Vince Vaughn in, as long as it's going to be funny and entertaining, not boring and serious. And Vince Vaughn delivered on that when he was playing a teenage girl. So, yeah. Number 4, Freaky. Yeah. It was an enjoyable film, yes. Number 3 is The Hunt. Now, this was originally meant to come out in the September of 2019, but due to some gun crimes in America, they delayed it to March. It came out anyway, and I managed to see this before the whole lockdown happened, and yeah, a group of strangers wake up not knowing what the hell's going on, and they harm themselves and that. We get Hitchcocked big time, especially with Emma Roberts when she was in it. I thought, okay, she's probably the final girl, but then no. They Hitchcock us and she gets killed, and we get down to one woman. I can't remember the character's name, but the actress's name is Betty something. She kicks ass in this against Hilary Swank. And yeah, like I say, she was badass. This wasn't just a horror; it was action thriller and black comedy rolled in there too. And I thought the gags and the funniness and the comedy was funny, and I loved the brutal violence they did with it and the action. And yeah, there was the horror elements in there. So there. At number 2, it is Host. Now, this movie is less than an hour long. It was a Shudder exclusive, and it was entertaining. It was a surprisingly good hit, and it was about 50 minutes long. And I thought, okay, maybe this is going to be like a redo or like a rehash of, Unfriended, but it was filmed in real time. See, this was filmed during lockdown of the COVID-19 pandemic. Yeah, filmed during lockdown. So all the actors in this movie are on their actual webcams, filming the film and playing fictionalized versions of themselves, and it's all during lockdown. I thought, that's just brilliant. A great film, and it was great. It was. They decide to perform a seance online, and they wake something up, and evil taunts them, which I thought is nothing fresh. But the way they did this film, it was just done so much better than Unfriended did. So there you go. That's my number 2 pick. What's the number 1, I hear you ask? You're about to find out. And my number 1 pick, is it a surprise? It's the best one, I think, of this year, The Invisible Man. Leave it to Leigh Whannell to retell a classic. Leigh Whannell wrote and directed this classic tale from H.G. Wells, updated it, brought it to the 21st century, and in this there was no invisible formula, it was an invisible suit, and I like the twists they played on it with who the Invisible Man was. Elizabeth Moss, she was just fantastic in it, and also plays around the themes of abusive relationships too, which I think is a bit of a delicate subject, but people should be made more aware of. But yeah, I like this. They gave it the stalker aspect of it, the creepy stalker, and I thought Leigh Whannell did that brilliantly. Leigh Whannell, we all know him for like his work in Saw and Insidious, but this one he did on his own, wrote and directed, and he did it great. And this is, again, a decent film I watched before this year went into chaos. But yeah, The Invisible Man is my number 1 best horror movie of this year. So, what are your top 5 worst and best horrors of this year? Let me know that down in the comments below. If you like this video, be sure to give it a big thumbs up, share with your friends, feel free to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and to hit that notification bell. All my social media links are linked down below in the description. No pressure, but it would mean a great deal to me if you did. So yeah, hope everyone has a good new year, make the best of it and that. And yeah, I think this is going to be my last video of 2020, so I'll be taking a bit of a hiatus in January, but don't worry, Frankenstein will keep you all entertained with Monster Month, so there'll be that to enjoy. So yeah, see you in 2021, and until next time, do enough nightmares.